be useful to have both. I'm afraid it's out of the question.
All right. What other avenues do we have?
Still no sign of her. What do you think? Maybe she's done a moonlight flit?
No, not a chance. Either she's off duty or she could have taken a sickie.
Oh, poor Miss Ferguson. Maybe we should send her a little get-well card or something to read.
Yeah. Hey, how about an application form from the doll office?
Oh, well, I'm glad to see you're in such high spirits. However, what I have to say you won't find quite so amusing.
Why, Mrs. Powell, whatever do you mean?
You know exactly what I mean. I am talking about an officer who is not receiving the respect her position deserves.
Respect, Ferguson!
Miss!
I would say she is receiving exactly the respect she deserves.
Oh, Smith, I can't be bothered playing word games with you. I'm just going to warn all of you. If you persist with this boycott of yours, then you're liable to find all of us walking off the job. So that means all of you will be locked in your cells indefinitely. Do think about it, ladies.
You think she's serious?
Yep. But are we going to let po-fate stop us from fixing the freak?
No.
That's just what I figured.
Hello, Doreen. How was your first day?
Oh, real good once I got started. Bit low on conversation, but... Anyway, I'll be glad to get home. My feet are killing me.
Maybe you ought to try a pair of our shoes. Are you still living at the halfway house?
Yeah, it's not real flash, but it's a roof over my head, you know.
Well, I don't mean to pry, but now that you're working regularly, have you thought about getting a flat of your own?
Flat?
Well, a girl has a much better social life if she has a place of her own.
Do you live on your own?
Sure do. Except when Phil stays the night.
Is he your boyfriend?
Boyfriend, solicitor, financial advisor, all rolled into one. He's really nice, but somehow I think he would have shot off like a rocket if I'd taken him to a place full of junkies and things on our first date, instead of my cosy little place.
Well, I don't think any fella would be too impressed with my roommate, so I'll think it over.
Good idea.
Read 'em and weep, and it's aces on the up.
Oh, I still don't understand this game.
You don't have to, you just put your money in.
Well, I hope all this merriment means you've finally come to your senses. Righto, you've made your point. How long do you think you can keep this nonsense up?
How about serving me another nice hand like that, AP?
I think I've had enough. I can wash my hair again.
You know what I'd like? A real nice cup of tea.
Oh, Lizzie, I'd be in on that. You can't win, you know. That isn't how the system works. But I can wait. And you've got all the time in the world.
You know, Lizzie, I wouldn't mind a nice cup of tea either.
Oh, yes, Simpson. Of course, you're behind all this. Get outside. Move. All right, we'll do this the hard way. Well, thank you very much, Smith. You've given me something to really live for. And I'm going to enjoy it.
And you say the women are cooperating with all the other officers? They are going out of their way to be helpful.
Well, it doesn't sound like Smith's style to try psychological warfare.
Do you think perhaps Simpson has anything to do with it? Yes, that's possible. How is Joan Ferguson coping?
Well, I think she might crack if this goes on much longer. I saw her yesterday with Latham, and it looked as though she was threatening her.
Did Latham complain?
No, she hasn't said anything. And I can't honestly say I've got any proof. It's just intuition.
Well, of course, Latham still has to face charges over her escape, so it's not surprising she's keeping a fairly low profile at present.
Yes, but that could be part of the women's overall plan to give the rest of us no trouble.
Possibly. Whatever the reason, I think you're right, Mrs. Powell. We can't back down now, and we can't allow the women to dictate the action. I think it's time I spoke to Smith.
Hello, Doreen. You look like you're writing your first novel.
Oh, just about. I'm trying to work out my budget. Money's a bugger, isn't it? Sometimes it's just as bad having too much as it is being broke.
I don't think $154 a week will make you rich.
You're not wrong. But I got 60 grand stashed away from the sale of my house. And, you know, I get real nervous every time I open the bank book and see all those noughts.
Aren't you the deep one? But you really should have it invested.
Yeah, well, I have, sort of. The bloke at the bank says that it's invested in something like a deposit account or trust account or something like that. Isn't that what you'd do?
Well, I've got some land, and there's the flat. And the rest is in stocks and shares.
Oh, yeah, but they're pretty dicey, aren't they?
Oh, not if you buy something safe. Well, that way you always have a nice little income on the side. And there's always the chance that one day you might really hit the jackpot.
Have you ever done that?
What? Hit the jackpot?
Yeah.
No such luck. Well, not yet, anyway. Hey, listen, why don't I introduce you to Phil one night? Well, I mean, he's really sweet, and I know that he'd help you in any way that he could. I'd be lost without him.
Oh, yeah, that'd be good. Sure you don't mind?
No, not a bit. I know how hard it is to get started. Don't know about you, but I was brought up in the slums. Let's just say that Dad wasn't very good with money. Too scared to take a chance, I suppose.
Oh, there you are. You should tell me where you're going. I've been looking for you everywhere.
How are you today, Mr. Logan?
Yeah, hello. Come along, Barbara.
I'm sorry, Mr. Logan, but I am entitled to a tea break.
Never mind that now. I've decided to take your advice.
My advice?
I'm selling off that overstock to a friend of mine. He's given me cash for it.
I see. And you want me to invoice him and adjust the account book?
No. That's the last thing I want. That stuff's all written off as a tax loss. I told you that.
But what you're talking about is illegal.
What I'm talking about, Barbara, is survival. Now, he's coming down with a truck later today to collect the stuff. Pick somebody who's trustworthy to help him load it. And don't mention this to anyone.
Simpson's asked to see you as well. I thought you might be interested in what she has to say.
I assume you are both here on behalf of all the women.
That's about the size of it. They asked me and Hannah to speak for all of them.
Then perhaps you'll start by explaining to me why you have taken such drastic action against Officer Ferguson.
We didn't have any choice, Mrs. Davidson.
You could have spoken to me first.
Hannah did. When she told you what was going on, you were too busy protecting your staff.
That is untrue and uncalled for, Smith. I even went as far as to contact the Queensland authorities. There is not one shred of evidence to support Simpson's allegations.
No evidence? Evidence? Isn't Chrissy's bashing evidence enough? And what about all the other...
Miss Ferguson was defending herself against Latham's attack, nothing more. If there had been any evidence to the contrary, I would have taken immediate action against the officer involved.
We think there's evidence enough, that's why we're taking action. Can't you see that?
It doesn't matter whether I see your point or not. I am obliged to support my officers until such time as they prove they are not worthy of my support. Now, will you please stop this stupidity and acknowledge Miss Ferguson's authority?
Otherwise, you'll make us, right?
I have no other option, and you know it.
All right, I'll tell the others. But if I were you, I wouldn't hold my breath waiting.
You mean after all you told her, old Davo's still siding with Ferguson?
Well, she doesn't have much choice, really. She can hardly tell us we're doing the right thing now, can she?
Do you have to be so bloody reasonable all the time? Anyway, we've got a real fight in our hands. Looks like Davo and the screw is going to back Ferguson up no matter what we say.
But we're going to keep on with it, aren't we? I'm not letting that bitch off the hook. OK, B, what do we do now?
Lizzie, pass the word around. There's going to be a meeting among the women in the yard during the Savo's exercise period.
What are you planning to do?
Don't know yet. But I think everyone has a right to know exactly what they're in for.
That's fine, Maury. 40 pairs to go.
No invoices, no receipts. Is that right, George?
Absolutely correct. Wouldn't hurt if you just forgot where they came from, either.
Oh, I don't know how you could forget. There's hundreds of them. Miss Fields, your phone's been ringing for ages.
Come along, Doreen. Mr. Logan doesn't like the staff to be out here during working hours.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean nothing by it. It was just a gag, you know. If you want to pull a Swifty, that's
Doreen,
up to you.
Please.
I don't know what you're doing out here, young woman, but back to your bench immediately.
But what about the phone?
Or just take their number and I'll call them back.
I was just trying to help.
All right, Maury, that's the lot.
Well, so long, George. It's been a pleasure. Any time you've got a surplus, let me know.